Yeah. That's all. How long has it been there?
They are behind.
And we have parks.
Yeah, they have.
Rush for it.
Not now. So far.
We should just finish our season with what we've got anyway. It's larger than our garage, so.
That's a whole nother.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
This is a different subject, and Alvin, you and I talked about this afternoon, but I got a call from somebody up on Highland View, yeah, and he was complaining about Hell's Peak. And, you know, I'm just trying to get a number. You and I talked a per mile number to pave our dirt roads, just because I don't think, I mean, people say, oh, God, you know, my road's getting all ruddy in all these mud seasons, let's just pave it. And I went, and you and I talked somewhere between $500,000 and $1 million a mile. I went on, I did my Google thing, there was one site said that it would be $6 million a mile. That, I don't know what kind of country they were cutting a road through.
Well, if you start from scratch from the old road,
Yeah.
but I think last item, don't read it all, read it much, but last item, zoning said no more paved roads. And
My point only was that you can't just pave it.
Oh,
There's a lot of work that would have to go
Yeah.
into it first.
it would be, I'm just thinking, this probably isn't the last call I'm gonna feel. I know you've talked to this guy once or twice, but, you know, I'm just, you know, rather than throw out a completely unvetted number, I'm looking for consensus on an official number.
I mean, I don't,
Well,
I
about
honestly
$1 million
don't
a month.
This is our fourth month season.
Yeah,
And I know there's a bill there for shades and don't quote me, I think it's $5,000 to $6,000. That's not the first one, that's the third time.
yeah, yeah,
One thing you can't do is control the weather.
right.
And I don't think paving the road because we've had a mud season is a valid choice.
I think
We've
it's
got
gonna
one-
continue to get.
Right, but we've got one 550 that salts pavement. And we gotta send them from Park Street, then we gotta send them up to Priory, and then we gotta send them over to Hell's Peak. It's just like, it doesn't make any sense unless we
Yeah.
start getting more
Yeah.
help and a
No, I-
truck, a
But
bigger
correct
truck.
me if I'm wrong, but I also thought that gravel roads need more continuous maintenance. But after a few years with the pavement, the frost heaves, it equals out, and it's not less maintenance.
No.
In fact, it's the same, if not more, just because it
That's
keeps what you have to do.
more
to correct it.
Just about, that was what.
And that was just a Bomag and two.
Well, this one they
3
planed.
inches. Yeah,
And then they blow back the top of Chester Mountain.
Yeah.
So that- I believe it was like 187.
and that was
it's not cheap.
half a mile.
Chester Mountain, I believe, is a half mile.
Yeah.
There's a lot to it.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh, I know,
yeah,
there's
it
a,
is.
it's not 180,000 to turn a dirt road per mile to turn a dirt road into a paved road, I would guess. You know, it's somewhere between half a million
I
and a
do
million.
think maybe changing our sand and going more and more to the SLC sand, which is pure rock,
Mhm.
or mostly rock.
Yeah.
Might help a
No
lot. It would
fines.
Stop with the slanginess on top.
Yeah.
Problem is it's white and people can't see it.
So they think it's not there.
I do think, I talked to some other towns that have slowly gone that way and they said it's helped immensely, so.
Yeah.
Normally, in past years, we're closed right now, we're not. You know,
Is the pave request because of mud season? Is that what prompted the phone call, or was it just
Yeah,
in general?
It's just, no,
Okay.
he's,
I mean, you really can't grade a road this time of year. 'Cause
Yeah.
You're gonna just make it.
Sure.
Turn it.
Sure, no, I understand all that stuff, I'm just trying to,
Pass it.
well, but no,
Have an
just
answer.
have a well thought out vetted answer that, you know, this isn't the first person, and a lot of people just are, they don't like the ruts any more than I like the ruts, but they understand that that's where we are, but there's no question, it's getting, you know, we're having 3, 4, 5 month seasons every year, every winter, and it's a different feel. So.
Yeah. Any other questions for all? Okay, thank you.
Have a good one, Alden.
All right, changes to the minutes or the agenda, we'll take and slip down to number 5 for the library because everybody's here, and we'll have an executive session for personnel later on.
Do we want to just quickly approve the minutes? I wonder, that shouldn't take much time. Oh,
Up to you. I got a lot of changes, so.
okay, let's just go,
Okay.
and nothing on
Let's
the.
go for a while.
So I'll start. First of all, thank you for putting us on the agenda. And I think you know us all, but Linda and I and Nikki are trustees at the library. Jessica is our executive director, and Ryan is our architect. So he's here. The purpose of the meeting tonight is to show you plans for the library. It's pretty exciting. We have a design and build committee, and they've been working for pretty much close to a year on these designs with Ryan for probably about, since last May, June, something like that. We've been through various iterations, and we finally have come up with a conceptual design that the library board last week approved. And the library board is the one that has the ultimate responsibility for the design. We come here to you because we want your support, we want your thoughts, we want your blessings, you know, we want you to, you're getting the next look at them, so we want that. And then as you will see, it's a 1,300 square foot addition. Ryan's going to walk us through that. It's called option A. I don't know why it's called option A, because I guess it's when we narrowed down all the other things that we had eventually seen, and this one's just called option A, but it's really, think of it as the 1,300 square foot addition. Ryan's going to walk you through plans. Then Linda's going to talk about the revised campaign budget, because as a result of the plans and as a result of a lot of things, our campaign budget has increased. I'm going to talk about the feasibility of meeting that revised campaign budget. And then Linda's going to talk a little bit about the process to get to the public meetings, which are actually going to be pretty soon. But we're looking, you know, this is a municipal building. This is the town's library. So we really want the input from the community as to their thoughts. So we'll walk through that. And I do want to say a special thanks to Ryan. He's been a pleasure to work with, very patient. We have, I think, 8 or 10 people on our design and build committee, and they all had their own opinions about everything. So he did a good job of maneuvering through all of that. And so I will turn it over to Ryan. And we have copies of.
Oh, you brought.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, and Ryan's a bigger, so I'll take one of his.
They all got their glasses
So
on
sorry,
now.
Linda.
I got 3 of these, but I
Here, wait,
also
here's
I'll take a small one.
You've seen it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's right. Jim's one of those opinionated people on the design and build.
Yeah, I was thinking of the joke, which is you have 10 people and 15 different opinions. But in reality, you didn't say this, but I will. The 10 people on the in the end, everybody was, I mean, it was unanimous. Everybody loves this option. So
so you have what you're looking at there is the same as what I'm showing up here. It's just a little easier to point to a larger image. So option A, as it's called, 1,300 square foot addition. The conceptual idea of the addition is to try and keep it in scale with the existing library. The existing brick portion of the library right here. So as everyone knows, a relatively small building and small in stature as looking from the village. I will point out, as we're looking at this, the addition is this wing here. And the first floor of the addition is 3 feet 6 inches below the first floor of the existing library. A key point of that is that is still 4 feet 6 inches above floodplain. And in the most recent flood this summer, we did not hit that floodplain level. We were about 8 inches below that. So we are really improving the flood resiliency of this because the existing basement floor of the existing library is that 4 feet 6 inches lower. So we're actually raising our flood resiliency by 4 feet 6 inches with the addition. Having that also allows for really good accessibility. It's a very prominent point of the addition is to make the library accessible to people of all ages, young and old. And so by being able to have parking, a dedicated parking area, the lower level allows for a very gradual walk up to the entrance patio. Also, the entrance patio allows for a covered entry so that in summer or winter, bad weather, good weather, you have a protected entry and we don't have the ice build up and the plows coming by. It allows for very easy access. In this elevation, also note that we're planning to have a new window on this brick facade. So that currently this is just a plain brick facade with no window on it. There is an existing chimney. It's removing that chimney and opening this space up. As we go through the floor plans, you'll see the different use for that space, but really bringing a lot more light into the existing portion of the library. On the next page, this is the view coming from if you're in the proposed parking lot looking up. So here, this is that nice gentle slope walk that I was talking about. It's so gentle, you don't need to have handrails for it to be handicap accessible so that it keeps that visual element off the front of the building. It's also always a chronic maintenance item of having handrails next to a parking area, plowing. We've already experienced that on the front of the building right now. Here is a nice grand facing south, looking down the river, a good spot to also sit, also serves as easy access for walking straight up to the entrance patio here. As you see here, this faces due south down the river, allowing a great southern exposure, a lot of light coming in. Southern exposure is ideal because in the summertime, you get very little sunlight coming in. In the wintertime, you get much more sunlight coming in when you want that. Also proposing a cupola that is actually open to below. You'll see when we go to interior images.
Ran away to help you over there.
No, I'm not going to delegate here, going back and forth. So this is actually the view if you were to walk out the front door here, looking straight across. One of the main goals of the addition is to really give some identification that it is a library. Right now, when you look up the hill at it, there's no real way for anybody new to the town to know that that's the library. It doesn't really draw you across the river. And so that being able to bring this grade up here actually gives some signage so that it really identifies as a library. And stylistically, the addition, the idea is to have it be in the municipal style of the other buildings around the green, so that when we're looking at the town office, the little school, the playhouse, the museum, those are all in that traditional classical design to really bring those elements into the library so that it matches all the other buildings that are open to the public.
I think it's a key thing that you said that it still is, even with the addition, is like way smaller than like the playhouse or the little school. So from a size point of view, it's not a massive addition.
In comparison to the house that was there, it looks smaller, is it?
It is smaller.
It is
Roof
smaller.
line is actually lower. The square footprint is small. And the coffin house is there. And elevation wise, it will actually appear much smaller as well because we're actually raising the grade up a little bit and the roof line is down so that the you're probably 10 feet less of elevation than the common house. This plan right here, this is the ground level. So this is the footprint of the addition, and this is all fill. So this is the first floor of the addition. It would be a concrete slab, and this is earth, solid earth underneath that, so that no water can get in. In this, we can actually still utilize the downstairs of the existing library, so that there will be additional waterproofing and water mitigation to make sure. Right now there is some water coming through the stone foundation. Both exterior and interior conditions will be improved in that, so that there's no natural light in this, but it is a very usable space, storage, multi-purpose, workstations, items that don't need natural light. And first floor. So this is the addition. Up here, this is the existing library. So in the existing library, really only half of this space, basically from here over, can be utilized as a library function. On the back side, this is the existing office space, and then stacks. And the stair to downstairs is back in this location here. So we're proposing to open this all the way up so that you really get a nice, beautiful open space to utilize for the library. Also, with the very limited stack space the library currently has, it's been maximizing so that the stacks actually come out into this space. With the addition, we'll be able to have additional stack space so that we can kind of properly spread out the books and take those bookcases that are coming into the space and put them flush against the wall, which makes this a much more usable space. And also it's sized very well for having a meeting in that space. So that for public meetings, a meeting like this could be held in this space when it would provide more overflow seating. It's essentially sized for a 25-person audience with about a 10-person table, depending on how you orient the table. Also setting up so that there's chair storage, so that all these chairs that are here can go away, and this can be a functional library space for reading, multi-purpose area, and be utilized when there's not a meeting occurring. Right here, this is the wheelchair lift. As I said, this is 3 feet 6 inches below, so these are stairs coming up inside. Wheelchair lift can bring you from the existing library level down to the new library first floor and down to the existing library ground level. So 3-stop wheelchair lift. One critical element is the restroom. There's no restroom in the current library, so it makes it very functional.
The critical element.
Workstations in this space, and then really the idea is to have this be an open multi-purpose space, so that it'll have library stacks in it. We currently have a dedicated area for the kids' corner. That's where the kids' books are. Put the kids' toys in that area. Reading area, office space for the librarian with a good view across the entire library. Having the entry vestibule, so in the wintertime it's not cold air coming straight in. Then having this door here is a secondary door that will allow a lot of natural light in, as it being glass, but also in the summertime can be opened up to utilize this covered front porch as an indoor-outdoor space. And this space here right in front of the brick portion of the library can be a flat patio as well. So that allows for a lot of outdoor space, which the library currently has. Out behind the library, that space where there's a table, out with the, unfortunately the tree will have to go, but that gets a lot of usage right outside of the kids area. One of the main focuses is that the first floor of the library is by far the most utilized space. So that was really trying to maximize the utility of this first floor. That knowing that going like downstairs to the existing kids area is the secondary space. And so it's trying to make this as usable and as nice a space as possible. Was really this, when these doors are open, the view up into the existing trusswork of the existing library will really be quite nice. And so all this is the second floor or the roof system. So this is the existing open space in the existing library. So all the trusswork here. And then in this whole space here in the center is also open. And so conceptually, the idea is that we can have very nice open ceiling work, exposed trusses, look, this is looking due south, so those are these same windows that look down the river. And really maximizing the quality of the interior space on that first floor. And we won't be able to quite match the exact feel of the existing library, because that's a very, very unique space. I have that same idea that it's a space of up to that quality.
That's beautiful, yeah.
The roof structure and all the trusses remain as they are, or is
In
that
the
gonna
existing
be-
library, yes. Yep. It will only be the windows on the. So there's 4 existing windows on the south side here.
Okay.
Those will become enclosed because this wall will now be on the addition side. So actually, 1 becomes a door, 2 become doors, 1 gets infilled, a new opening here. And then this window here will probably, the trim work will probably remain on the inside, but will be blanked out.
There'll be the new window on the, you were gonna point out that new window, new decorative window by the meeting area. top
Right.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
fine.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, so this right here is that arch window that we're looking at next.
Yeah.
And it would match in size of the existing.
I think we should also mention that the bookshelves that are there in the addition, even the chairs that are there, all of that is just sort of potential. We haven't really decided what's going to go into these areas, where chairs are gonna be, where sofas are gonna be, that sort of thing. But Ryan has put those in just as speculative, just so we can see what it would look like.
And so that's where we're going to start, the plan is to start having public input meetings to really hear from the public what the main priorities from their standpoints are for using this space. And then cater the layout of the furniture and finishings of the space to those uses.
I assume it's dangerous to do that, but way people go nowadays, I assume you're gonna have a counter there where people can work with their laptops and have charging station.
Right there, yep, computer workstations right here is the dedicated space to have a countertop for that specific purpose.
There's also of the possibility of the downstairs area that exists can be used for private space, like for if you have a telehealth or telemedicine conference that you want to have, it could be down in there, and you could be closed off and you'd be very private. And you're gonna hear a little bit more about that when I talk about the Department of Libraries grant, because they're looking for space for that kind of use. So,
And one of the nice pieces of the existing library to the addition is that it will be very easy to shut off the existing library from the addition. So that if it would be quite possible to have a meeting going on that is isolated visually and acoustically from the addition. So you could have kids playing around causing a ruckus and still have a quiet meeting going on in the existing library.
Do you have a place for like a little kitchenette, as
will.
employees might need that?
We will.
Good, excellent. Wet for any time. I want my wet dog. Great, yeah.
So the plan is to keep the wheelchair access from the roadside,
Yes.
come in on the front. And
So
then-
main entrance will be here, but you still have the ability when coming across the bridge, you could come to this space.
Mhm.
It will, in this layout, be much easier to come
Well,
straight
that's-
here
Yeah, this
to
is
this
all
entrance.
cobblestone.
But we do need to have this as an exit.
Mhm.
And there's no real reason to remove the accessible entrance portion of it.
Right.
There's not really a benefit to that space.
So
So
it could be 2 options, 1 with the existing and then 2 coming across the bridge and then.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's where if this is not accessible, it couldn't be an entrance, could remain as an exit.
Mhm.
But with this scenario, we have both of them be entrances and exits. It may, from a operational standpoint, be desired not to have this be an entry at some point, but that'll be a locking function.
we've actually talked to some of the libraries that have multiple they're small like this, but they have multiple entrances, and they just put security cameras up and a doorbell. So, you know, if only one person is working in the library at that time, and somebody comes and the door down here is open, the door up there could be locked, and a person could ring a bell and somebody would go up and open it up. So there's ways to
Yeah.
handle it.
I just figured since you were moving the parking to kind of down onto the Coughlin property, would that be your access for handicap, or would you just continue to use the?
Either.
Yeah, one of the goals that, from, people could be coming down Lawrence Hill from the park or coming from the Playhouse. That it's hopefully multiple entrance points that they're coming, arriving from.
Nice plan.
As in,
Yeah, I'm sure, but we haven't really gotten that, but you know, that's what will happen, I think, as part of the community meeting. You know, we want to hear from the community what they're looking for.
We don't have any place in town, really. We have a small little family gathering for reception.
so, I'm gonna talk a little bit about how we're gonna pay for this, or actually, not how, Debbie's gonna talk about how to pay for it, I'm gonna tell you what we have to pay for. So we originally set up a construction budget, over a year ago, and a number of things have changed since then. First of all, so our original campaign budget was $2 million, which included a $400,000 reserve fund, and also included to help pay for the additional expenses we'll have in that space, but also included the $200,000 that was paid for the Riverside property. So that was $2 million for construction and expenses. So that amount has recently gone up to 2.75 for a number of reasons. One is that this current, or our original space, the current building is going to need much more work than we anticipated. The brick on the outside, the foundation, as Ryan was talking about, to make it waterproof, and other things that's about 4 to 5 times more expensive than we anticipated. So that's one large additional expense. Obviously, in that over a year since we made that original budget, construction costs, not only for materials, but also for salaries, have gone up significantly. So there's another additional cost that we have to absorb. We also have, and the size of the expansion is about 30% larger than our original estimate was going to be. We estimated 1,000 square feet, and this is 1,300 square feet of additional space.
So it would be good to note that we are able to bring the addition right to the property line because George is.
The Corsons, right?
Corsons
Yeah, the
are
Corsons.
gifting
Yeah.
this additional space to allow the addition to be larger.
Yeah.
So initially, it wouldn't have been even feasible to make it this much.
I have a question. You said pay for the Coughlin property. I believe, or at least I was led to believe, that when Jim came and asked the town to throw in $50,000, that there was 4 individuals, friends of the library, that were paying for the Coughlin property,
Right, yes.
making the donation. But you just said paying for the Coughlin property, $200,000. So the way I'm reading it is they didn't donate the $200,000 to buy the Coughlin property, like I was led to believe. There's 4 of them took, and then 50,000 plus the town kicked in some money. So that means basically somebody's going to be paying for the whole thing.
No. The Coughlin property, in terms of like putting together the whole cost of the project, we included in the whole cost of the project the cost of the Coughlin land, because it's representative of how much this whole project cost. The money, as you're going to hear, we've actually raised $1.5 million so far, which includes all that $200,000, including the money from the town for the buying of the land. So yes, the buying of the land, we just wanted to include it so that, so people wouldn't think, I mean, they would understand that the whole project costs this much, you know, it's, and also the importance of that riverside property for a variety of reasons: parking, septic, water, and a nice park along the river, not to mention the Gabion Wall, but we don't deal with that with, we don't talk about that with other people. But the
We're into
idea
that
is,
property as well. That all of this is in that property.
right, and
So they-
so,
part of the addition of the property.
so, it's been paid for, it's covered.
Based on what she said, I took it the
Okay.
other way, and if people didn't know the difference,
We'll clarify our language to make sure that people understand. It's just like we've already spent money for, actually Ryan's not doing this for free, so we've actually spent some money for Ryan. We have an owner's rep who we've, you know, contracted with, and he's been paid. We have an engineer. So those things, to date, we have incurred in round numbers, I didn't bring this with me, but of that 1.5 million that has been raised, around 250 has been spent. So 200 and change for the land, and then 50 for the ancillary, everything from insurance to lawyers to professional fees, etc. And I mean, we have a whole.
And by the way, tearing down Coughlin's house
Oh,
and
yes.
redoing, yeah.
Right, and we actually did incur $8,000 of flood damage, which was paid for 2 out of the project. So you know, I mean, the whole, as Linda's referring to, the whole 2.75 million, if we wanted to include, I mean, we could back out the cost of the land and we could back out other costs, but we thought it was helpful for people to understand the entire project.
Right, and the only, and I apologize if I wasn't clear about how we were counting that, the cost of the land in that accounting. And the only other additional expense that we weren't counting on was the real importance of flood resiliency, which of course hit us all very clearly in July and made it even more important that we make this building as flood resilient as possible, which added additional expenses to our original budget. Yeah, so our budget went, our campaign budget went from 2 million to 2.75 million.
So I'm going to talk about like how the heck are we going to raise that money? So as I mentioned, we've already raised 1.5 million, which given the generosity of the people in our town and the town of Weston for what it has done and the voters in town, it's been pretty incredible. I will say that when the trustees started this project, we actually were pretty confident that $2 million would be a number that we could deal with. But at that point in time, we were the only people raising money in town. Nothing else had happened. And then the flood hit. And now we are competing against a lot of other needs, which we recognize, but people, sometimes when we now ask people, they're, I don't need to say conflicted, but they'll say like, oh, well, we'll give you this, but we also want to give money for the little school, and we want to give money for the theater and the playhouse and the rec club, you know, so there's more need for various projects than there was when we started this. That said, as I said, we have raised $1.5 million, which leaves 1.25 to raise. We have a campaign committee, and our campaign committee feels pretty confident that we can raise $750,000 of that $1,250,000. So we can raise $750,000 from the major donors that we have identified who haven't yet been spoken to. So that's, you know, I mean, all of this is iffy, but that's $750,000. That leaves $500,000. Okay, where does that come from? The Department of Libraries has $16 million that they were given to dole out only to libraries. And there's actually another 10 million, but that's not going to be available for at least a year. So we're now just talking about this $16 million chunk.
16,
16.
not 60.
No, one,
Yeah, okay.
1/6. And again, what's kind of interesting when this whole $16 million, when we first knew about it, there weren't that many libraries that we thought were going to be looking for money as much as there are now. Because after the flood, you know, there's way more libraries that were damaged quite a bit. So it's going to be a competitive round to get into this $16 million. That said, the interesting thing is the minimum grants are going to be $300,000 and the maximum are going to be 1.4 million. So it's not, they're clearly saying, we're not looking for somebody who's putting a generator in. We're looking for transformative projects that are going to make a difference in a community. That said, the purpose of the grant is very, very specific. It's not just like, oh, we're doing a good thing for our community. It's all based on internet access. And they're looking for internet access for 3 things: work, education, and health. Okay, so that's why I mentioned that health thing, about the fact that there will be space that people can go and get, you know, dedicated private health things. There will be places where people can go and do work. And education wise, you know, that's basically one of the purposes of the library anyway, is education. And the other thing that is important about this grant is that what they're looking for is what happened during the pandemic and what did you learn from it, and what couldn't you do during the pandemic because of the condition of your building. So thinking about the existing structure, okay, we didn't have a bathrooms, we didn't have running water, so we couldn't bring people in, they couldn't wash their hands, they, you know, you guys couldn't clean anything because there was no water to clean with. It's very small, so social distancing became hugely an issue. You couldn't, I mean, there was times when you would only allow like 2 people to come in the library at a time because, you know, you couldn't keep them far enough apart. So there was that. Also, ADA accessibility is really important. And even though we have an ADA accessible ramp outside, we're not ADA accessible inside. You can't get downstairs. You can't, you can barely get around that table. And so we have an ADA accessible entry, but we're not ADA accessible inside. So this building will become completely ADA accessible, and that is hugely important too for a public building, as you guys all know. The HVAC system is basically non-existent. I mean, you know, we just have some sort of holes in the floor where the hot air comes up. You couldn't open windows. Most of the windows were inoperable, so you couldn't get fresh air coming in. So it's those kinds of things that then we will be talking about, that the new space will allow us to fix, that will then allow us to have people come in for their education, health, and work internet. So that's the Department of Libraries. Oh, so what's the risk? Well, the risk is we don't get the grant, you know. The risk is we don't raise $750,000. So what do we do then? Well, we do what every project does. You start value engineering, you know, like you take a look at it and say like, you know, we were talking about all these beautiful trusses in here. Well, maybe we're not doing those trusses. Maybe we're doing this. Maybe we're doing that. So it means going back to the drawing board in some, not completely, but it means taking a look at what it is you're building to see. But it also means, and we're totally prepared to do this, to go back to people who've already donated and say, you know, hey, we really appreciate your donation, but we're so close, you know, can you spare a little bit more? You know, so anyway, that's where we are now. Linda's going to just talk a little bit about how we're gonna get from here to the public meetings, which is
Right.
pretty soon.
Right, and one of the things that this application for a grant is looking for is, as Debbie said, projects that will transform a community. We're really hoping that the library will become a community center more than it is now for people in town. And so we're very eager to involve the community as much as possible. So the library board approved this plan last week. We're visiting with you all tonight, hoping for your support. A postcard will go out later this week to everybody in town, inviting them to one of two community meetings. And the purpose of those community meetings is to show these designs and then ask people what they think we should be doing with the interior space of these designs. What kinds of programs do you want? What kinds of activities do you want? Are books really important to you, or is something else more important to you? And we got a lot of that information in our community meetings when we were doing the strategic plan and the survey that we did, but we want to get all of those ideas up. So postcard going out later this week, 2 community meetings, one on the 29th, February 29th, which is before town meeting. We will have these designs on view outside of, in the lobby there of Walker Hall for town meeting. And then we will have another community meeting after that on the 4th or 5th. 7th.
Yeah.
Right, great.
Better not be the 4th. I
Oh,
mean,
right, it's the
it
7th.
could be
I'm
the
sorry.
4th, but.
Yeah, no, it's the 7th. Yes, yes, thank you. It's the 7th, right. And that one is in the evening. The 29th is going to be in the afternoon. So again, 2 different times of day so that we hope we can get as many people as possible to come to those. And then finally, we're putting together a committee to work on some public relations stuff. A lot of activities and fun things going on this summer having to do with the library that will be both fundraising and fundraising for the community as a whole. Letting them know that here's your library, we're doing some great things, love to have you participate. So again, getting the community as involved as possible.
What kind of yearly operating budget are you foreseeing?
Well, so right now we have an $80,000 budget, roughly, round figures, $80,000 budget. We're looking at, let's see, what did we come to? I think 100,000. So not a significant increase. Part of the reason to have the reserve fund is so that we can draw on that as almost like an endowment and draw some income off of that, so that we don't have to continue to come back to the town for more and more money, to the taxpayers for more and more money. That operating budget isn't definitive yet. Some of that will depend on, if the town wants to have the library open more than we are open now, then we will probably have to hire some more personnel or work with a cadre of volunteers, I suppose. But we're expecting to be able, with that reserve fund, we're expecting to be able to cover the costs of the new building.
And that's an important point, because back to that 2.75 million, of which, as Danny pointed out, 200,000 and change was for the land. 400,000 is being set aside for this reserve fund so that it will hopefully offset and defray costs for the next 5 to 10 years, of maybe more. I don't know. We have to work more on the budget, but on the future budget. But until we sort of hear from the community about what it is that they really want, we haven't really put specific. I mean, we have looked at it a little bit, but just like any budget, like the town budget, personnel is, well, I know, no, that's not true. Like, you have roads to deal with, but
Aside from that,
but personnel is, is your big
expensive.
expense, so, I mean, of our $80,000 budget, more than half is personnel.
We also expect to realize significant savings because the HVAC system will be much more efficient than. Right, Brian? Smaller and more efficient.
No, but you'll also have significantly better control. So if there is any sort of air conditioning of the space, your yearly costs for heating and ventilation really won't change very much.
but you'll be getting a much better quality there.
When we have a bathroom, we will have the ability to draw more volunteers to help us. So we have lots of people now who always say, I'd love to come and help you for an hour or two, but we don't have a bathroom. So we'll be able to.
We're actually very lucky that we get people who work in the building without a bathroom, you know. So anyway, so we'll entertain any more questions or if, you know, what we are looking for you guys from is to, you know, to express your support of the project of the, I mean, recognizing just like we recognize that the dollar amounts are still in flux, but that we are on top of them and that we will, you know, as I said, if we run into those situations where we don't get the grant or we can't raise the money, we will be getting our pencil and paper out to figure out what to do. So
Did anybody look into ARPA? Was
That's
any
what
of
this
these?
is.
This one?
that's what the
The
16
library's
is.
ARPA.
What's also interesting, since you asked, Lisa, is that the next grant round, the 10 million that's coming out a year from now, that should be something that Weston just is primed to get because it's for rural libraries. And we are a rural library, but we suffer from, as you well know, we're a rich town. So even though we're only 600 people, you know, there's that rating system that shows, you know, that the state has done, and we are really, really, really considered rich. So,
I didn't know. I should be more grateful. Yeah.
well, I think like you have to have a score. The score is inverse. So low score means you're rich. High score means you're not rich. So like if you had a score of 80, you would be considered in need. You're 39. So we being Weston is 39. And it's a function of things like
So that means we're only half in need?
and we're gonna write the grant saying, you know, just because, well, we don't, maybe if we get the big other grant, we won't have to deal with the secondary grant. But you know, just because, I mean, there's a lot of things that happen in a town with only 600 people because there's not enough people to do the jobs, you know. So anyway, I'm preaching to the choir.
Again, this 10 million, is that gonna have similar restrictions on the grant size? Is there gonna be a minimum and a
No.
maximum
We
for
have
it?
no idea what they're gonna,
Okay.
they don't have any idea what they're gonna
Okay.
do.
And the other grant, was that one that was very specific in nature? Is it?
That's the internet, the broadband ability for health education.
Health
Okay.
work
Yeah,
improvements from COVID.
I just meant as far as
ADA.
what you can spend the money on, you know, like, some of the ARPA money was for, could do septics, you can
Oh,
do,
right.
internet, you know, there was a few things that you could do, but then there was a bunch of things that you weren't allowed to spend money
I
on,
think
so.
that the grant application, Linda and I and Jessica and Lean are working on that, and the grant application is kind of sort of holistic. It doesn't seem to say like, how much is the bathroom gonna cost? How much is this gonna cost? It's kind of like, what is the whole project? And how much money, I mean, I think they really are looking for the number that I talked about, which they're looking for the gap. How much money do you think you can raise? How much money have you raised? How much money do you think you can raise? And what's the shortfall? And that's where we came up with them asking for the $500,000 because we think that's the shortfall. We don't know if it should be more than that. I don't know, you know.
Yeah, no, I was just worried about all the restrictions around the ARPA money. It's free, but it's not free, and it's certainly not open. You know, sometimes the restrictions are a little bit, so. Helps.
I would
because-
just two more points about that grant application. One is that I think we stand in good stead because we are pretty far along in this project. You know, we have design, we have committees who are working on this. We've already raised some money, and they're looking for close to or shovel-ready projects.
Yeah.
And that's really where we are, which is to our benefit. The other thing I would say is that application is looking for support from the town. They want community support, they also want the municipal support.
Verbal,
especially
I
at the
mean,
center.
they want a letter.
Right, so either a statement, a letter, continuing resolution, whatever, however you work and wanna make that statement, we need to present that as part of our application that says, yes, the municipality is in favor of this.
Would it be sensible, for us to ask you to write a sample letter?
Yes, we will
that-
be happy to do that.
Yeah, and,
Because we actually have to get a letter from the library board, and they actually also want letters from other community organizations too.
Yeah.
So we're working on that.
well, I would move that, if you send us a letter of support, that we would sign it. That's my motion.
And we can get that to you before your next meeting or something.
The application is due on March 12th.
The only thing I will say before we conclude a motion or anything is, the number just sort of takes you back a step. It's a huge number, and as wealthy as I think our community is, the people that see this happening will say 2.7 million, I could buy 10, homes, or 10, to 10,
No,
whatever.
you can't.
No, not 10 homes, but, and you can't have 10 trucks there. But I'm just saying that might be a hurdle that, as you explain the expenses and what you've raised, it's really good to know that there's a good start on it, because it's sort of, it's a huge number to say out
Lisa,
loud.
that's a really good point. Do you think in terms of numbers for the town, for the community meetings, that we really just focus on construction costs and get away from the money that's being raised for reserves and the fact that we already bought the land and,
I'm impressed with how much you've done with the time that you've had to do it in, that I've known about the project coming, so that's really important. So I just think if you shoot out the big number and then you don't back it up with, but I've got 1.5, I've got 400, we're hoping for a 750 grand, whatever those things are. I think it takes it down to a point where the average person can understand you're doing everything you can not to make an ask of every day.
right,
So
Yeah.
that's
that's a good point.
I think it's the only way that you're probably gonna explain this without making it feel. That's a big number to say it like.
Lisa, that's a really good point. It's certainly something we've been thinking about, is how we get people to buy into the importance of a library in town. And do you think people will see this 2.75 as an extravagance that can't afford? I mean, does it go that far, or is it?
I don't know about that, but I do know 2.75, 1,300 square feet. If someone was just presented with that, number one, not seeing the plans, number one, and number two, not knowing what goes into it. No one really understands what the dirt costs are, what the building costs are, what the planning and engineering and designing costs are. So I think that it sounds like a very large number, 2.75.
So we can do like a pie chart,
Yeah, I think
because,
that's.
and we could make it big and put it on one of Brian's things here, because, I mean, like, for example, what the original cost was, and I just happen to remember these numbers, the original construction cost was in the area of 900,000. It's now gone to like 1,395,000. Okay, so that's a big chunk. As we also said, well, we didn't actually have any contingency in our original numbers, so we put in a $275,000 contingency, which is a big contingency, but it's there, so that either we have it or we don't. We
We didn't have money for moving the library or restoring it during
Right.
construction.
Right,
Also,
so
the current building is in far worse condition than was previously realized, so that's gonna cost much more.
I understand all the
Yeah.
costs. I'm saying, when you show 2.75 right behind it, you wanna be ready with, I got 1.5, I got 400 over here, you know what I'm saying, to kind of bring it down and say, listen, we're not asking you, you know, for a huge ask. We're telling you what we're doing to make this happen, and your ask is just a small portion of whatever the big picture is.
I think what-
And the two meetings will help, obviously, but I think you're gonna get questions, so again,
and that's good.
high charts are good. You
I
know,
think stressing the flood resiliency aspect, because I think people, that's on a lot of people's minds and are aware, that's not cheap. And it's not easy, and I think some of the improvements that you're making there, I mean, I think those are all good. They are total cost.
Yeah, and you guys have done a ton of work, I
Yeah.
mean, this is moving,
Yeah,
I
thank
think,
you.
quite quickly, so, due to a lot of good volunteers, so.
And one thing to remember is that, you know, I think the number is gonna be about at least 80 or 85% of this is gonna be raised through grants and private money. And by the way, the town, in the end, the town owns this. This is a town asset. The park is a town asset, and, you know, I'm gonna bore these guys to death, but every time I walk down, you know, that old Coughlin property toward the, you know, the brook that comes, Cold Spring Brook, I mean, it's just a gorgeous place to be. And, you know, I still dream of having a sandwich, you know, down by the water there, on a sunny summer day. It's really
Yeah.
gorgeous, yeah,
Picnicking.
yeah, and that's an asset for the town,
Sure,
and,
sure.
yeah,
I
so.
agree, I agree. You guys have done a lot of work. I'm very impressed. And so Jim has made a motion to sign a letter of support if provided a template, and I will second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for coming.
Thank
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Leave the really big copies for those of us who don't have our glasses.
Okay, we'll go back to the minutes of the review of the minutes.
Okay,
I got,
it's like on number 4.
When you said 4:30,
Yeah, you can-
okay. I don't have anything.
So,
It could be
can we do the
4:30.
budget ones first, or
It sounds
the budget
Sure.
ones? The budget ones?
And
It goes down to-
no,
I got-
you did.
No, I can-
Budget meeting, the only issue I had was that the dates, it has to have 2024 on there.
Okay.
Well, yeah, they're all January, okay, so add 2024 to those, that was the only thing I had on the budget meetings.
I recommend we give it time. So we have a hard.
That was it for me.
So that.
So I make a motion to approve the minutes regarding the budget meetings, January 3rd, 4th, 17th, and 23rd, 2024.
Second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
We'll go to the minutes of the, January 23rd.
Well, I'm excited about some.
And two.
So for changes on this one, in number 2, review and approve the meeting minutes. Annie Fuji stated that she feels that the blank in section 13, I don't know what you were trying to
Oh,
say, so
okay,
my
yeah.
suggestion was that you take out, she feels that section 13 and then cross off the word in after number 13
Mhm.
in section 13, old and new business. So cross out the in and then cross out in again. Then I moved on to number 4. So when I stated that perhaps we should check with the Army Corps of Engineers, it was as it relates to the language in the agreement. We don't want to involve the Army Corps of
No, we
Engineers.
don't.
So I would just add at the bottom, at the end of Army Corps of Engineers, related, regarding its language in the agreement.
Why don't we say, check regarding Army Corps of Engineers language? That would be an easy test. Either way.
That's fine. Number 6, I started off by saying that the fire department needs financial help with the structural part of the rebuild. Lisa had 3 bids given to her by the fire department, comma, and then take out which were. So it says,
Mhm.
given to her by the fire department for 15, 39, and 45.
Mhm.
And then, same page at the very end, instead of saying third bid had a situation where, just cross out bid had a situation where the person, cross all that out, and just put where the third bidder couldn't start the project. So start at bid, get rid of bid had a situation where the person, cross off all that,
Yeah.
and
couldn't
just put
start.
in bidder.
Right. Yep.
And then Mako, does anybody know how to spell that?
I
You
thought
got
it was MAACO.
On
Is
the, it's MAKO, on the, when you Google trying to buy one,
Okay,
that's what it is.
I didn't know what to call it even, so
Cause I know about Mako boats, but I thought.
Right.
Compressor,
Mako car painting.
yeah,
Completely
well,
different.
yeah, well, maybe that's what I'm thinking, MAACO.
So
It is
after,
Mako, okay.
Yep. So after that, so as it was damaged in the summer flood, then get rid of the. Lisa, you should move to fund the fire department. And allow them to purchase, so it's fund the fire department and purchase a new Mako air
And to
compressor
purchase or just in purchase?
and purchase.
Right after that, I would add to accept the $39,000 bid.
Right, I didn't know how to.
I
work
just
that.
put between the and bid, just $39,000.
Okay, then right after that, Jim, after the words bid given to them, cross off the A.
Yeah,
Given to them by New England Home
Yeah.
and Remodel.
Yeah.
And then a check will be given to the fire department / contractor as a deposit. It's a deposit, it's not.
well, it says check will be given for, it's a little funky, but,
Okay.
It's fine.
Let it go.
yeah.
Yep, fine. And then I think when we disagree, like number 7, we had 3 yays and 1 nay. Do we say who yayed and nayed? I mean, when I nay something, it's to go on
I
record.
think it's usually, yeah, that's a good point. I think the nays.
So
So
name,
Annie was the nay on this one, if I
Mhm.
remember correctly.
Yeah.
I know I was a yay, Jim was a yay,
Yeah, well,
And-
with three,
and it had to been Denny
since
then.
there are only four
There was
people,
only four, yep. Okay.
so we can just say with 3 yeas, Annie Fuji, voted nay.
okay, so in general, when there is a nay, name the,
Yeah,
Okay.
unless it's unanimous, we ought
okay, name,
to name who
perfect.
votes how.
There just isn't very, I looked to see that, and they're just, in the past notes, there's not a lot to go on, and
No,
then
there
you
isn't.
find like your
Usually
eyes
all
are like,
come around and we
you're
all
looking-
agree,
Right,
For
so
sure.
when she gets all these corrections,
Yep.
that's all.
Yep.
Yeah, let's vote on it, so we can just.
Okay.
So I move to approve these minutes with the changes we just made.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Nay.
Darn it.
Well, I was
Now she
gonna
has to
say, I think the select board report was first, and then we all unanimously, so the warning, but maybe, anyway, that's, I don't get that. As you recall, I said I don't like the wording,
Right,
such
that
and
was
such, so
correct.
I
You were
really don't
Yes.
agree with the way this
Yeah.
is put forth, but I will sign the warning and the whole, because I feel like.
We've got this village center designation. That's,
The renewal,
yeah, we're just reviewing that. Jeff Brown sent the letter.
he sent everything, we do need a cover, it looks like we do need a cover letter from us. I was going through, I hadn't seen one in the past, and it doesn't look like the state has anything on file, because I've asked this and Richard Amore to send me everything he had, and he didn't have anything. There is like a checklist, and it just says we need to cover, the name, the town of Weston, a brief narrative that includes a list of previous and current revitalization acts for the village, and then some things that I didn't know, like does the municipality have a water system, wastewater system, and things like that, and then obviously the name of a contact person to update.
who was gonna update the map?
What
This
do you-
hasn't been done since 2016, it's 8 years, there's a lot of
So the renewal's
changes.
only every 8 years, and I think that they get it out of the town plan
Okay,
coming up, you know what I mean? Like, we can only go on what's in the town plan. And then, so this new town plan for 2024 will be update the map.
but we have to give them the information, I don't know how they would gather that.
What are the changes to the?
So when you look at the map, Amy, it shows you what was residential, what was commercial, what was municipal and or public. And you can kind of look around and see that some things have changed, like, for instance, the, what year is, the Weston number 12 is on here as an inn, but that was old. And next door property was a residential property. They've now turned that into the spa.
Yeah.
Yep, and then the Coughlin's is no longer residential, that's now public. There's a bunch of them, so.
So that map and everything comes from Wyndham Regional Commission.
Okay,
That's
Simon's house is
what
no longer there.
they sent to us. I assume it all gets updated when we send everything for the town plan. I
so
don't
would
know
that
the
be a
answer to
Jeff
that.
Brown thing, or would that,
I would think so.
can
With the
you,
new town plan that's due
coming up this
coming
year,
up this
yeah,
year,
in October.
24 will attach the new.
New, correct.
Right,
but,
because
but
the-
I don't know who's responsible for that, I
think
don't
that's
think it's
planning
us, I
commission.
feel like it's.
I would
us.
assume
That'll
the
be
planning
part of the
commission,
town
yeah.
Okay,
planning
can you just ask,
commission.
can you just send an email
Sure.
to Jeff and ask if he is on top of that, if not, can he be on top of that?
Yeah,
Adjusting the town map,
And if he needs a letter from us.
yes.
yeah, he needs this
yeah.
cover letter.
Can we
Yeah,
do
just a
what
cover
the-
letter.
Yeah.
Can we do what the,
There's a,
just
on
we do
this
what,
checklist right here.
follow the example of the Wyndham Regional, which is basically.
I would
a
assume.
paragraph? and saying that the select board,
I mean, it says right on the application guidelines, there's a checklist in these packages that tells you exactly what they. It's like the second to last page. Or maybe it's not. Yeah, it's the last page, and there's a little checklist. So the only thing that
Yeah, well, what they need is the minutes from a publicly held meeting of the select
right,
board.
which is what we would
Right.
do right now tonight.
So I'm going to
and then we
move,
need this,
and
they've got
Renewal application.
that we authorize the renewal application.
and that's just what they said, you know. Yeah.
This is what they're asking for, so that's what
Confirming
I'm
it, yeah, exactly, well, that's what I
authorizing.
meant, exactly.
Authorizing. Yeah.
That's all we have to do, they've done the whole thing, and
Alright,
we just
right.
have to say we confirm
So you're
it,
gonna second my
and we,
motion?
okay, I'll second your motion.
Good. All in favor? Aye. Now we've got this,
What is this? Oh, resiliency.
oh,
Another committee.
yeah,
Who's on that committee anyway?
hopefully you at some point.
She sent
I'm
her
not
letter
gonna
in.
get it all set up, now I'm just
Yeah.
gonna swoop in.
I mean, I don't have much to report on that, except that, well, depending on how big a report you want, we had a meeting yesterday with Jamaica, Weston, and Londonderry, and, you know, a bunch of Wyndham Regional people and some Vermont Emergency Management folks, to discuss areas of common interest and areas where our interests are unique. Not that they would compete with anyone else, that are just where we, you know, working together is pointless. Like, you know,
Yeah, got it.
a lot of stuff in town. We're and one of Kelly Ayala pointed out that it would be really helpful if these three towns wrote a letter to the state saying, you know, we're working together, we're working on flood resilience, and any support you can give us is going to be really helpful. And, you know, here are some areas that, and we're going to meet just God, I've got Coughlin, Tom Cavanaugh, and Jessica, I've forgotten her last name.
From Jamaica.
From
Yeah.
Jamaica.
Yep.
And
Pollock.
just the three of us are gonna meet and get that letter going and highlight those areas of cooperation. And, you know, things that we're not working together on. For instance, Jamaica, the West River isn't a problem for them because they've got the Bull Mountain Dam. And Pikes Falls River. And it's all Pikes Falls Brook or river that comes down from Stratton. And that's not our water, it's not Londonderry's water, and it's their problem, and, you know, they're gonna have to deal with it. But in terms of, you know, looking for state help, financial help in particular, they need it as much as we do, and you know, so if we write as the three towns, that it has a lot more impact on the state level. So there's,
We need it and we feed into Londonderry, so they're sort of
yeah,
looking
I
to
mean,
us to
right.
do our part as
So,
well.
so,
Yep.
you know, all this stuff is going on, and I expressed my frustration at the pace of all this work, getting the grants and, you know, getting hydraulic studies and looking at upstream and downstream effects. And Chris Campany, who, I don't know, you guys saw, he wrote this, a very good article for the Vermont Digger about local select boards in small towns being completely overwhelmed with these problems. But interestingly, in this meeting, he basically told me to take a chill pill. He said, you can't believe how fast this stuff is going now. It feels slow to you,
Right.
but
it's faster.
things are rocking and rolling and way faster than after Irene. I mean, people are really sitting up and paying attention. So I guess that's good news. So anyway, we've gotten our MTAP grant. We here in Weston, we've gotten this $50,000 grant. We've got the committee mostly staffed with a few holdouts whose names I won't mention right now. And
We got it. I got it.
yeah, no.
He's talking about me.
Yes, and that's an insight.
Mentioned,
Yeah.
mentioned. No
It's it's hardly bleeding at all. It's just a tiny little scratch. Anyway, start meeting and you're going to send out a doodle.
Yes, I think that
well-
Wayne wanted us to put in the minutes now, right? Correct? That
The committee has
been
been
established.
established. I thought we'd already done that, but I'm going to move. I thought we did, but
But I hadn't got the
let's
appointment
throw
letters
Wayne
back,
a
so I
bone,
wasn't, he
and I'm
wasn't
going to
sure.
move that that we recognize that the Town of Weston Flood Resilience Committee has been formed and staffed and will be administrating the MTAP funds, will be advising the select board on administrating the MTAP funds, and we'll be meeting soon. And I know you want to second that motion. just to
I will
keep things
second that
moving.
motion.
Right.
All in favor?
Hi.
Alright. Thank you. The opioid thing, I am not exactly sure what
I don't think we have to do anything with it.
they want us to fill something out.
Here's what I think we should do. I think we should authorize you to call VLCT
Okay.
and find out what the hell to do with this.
Sure.
This is gobbledygook.
Okay, no problem.
And
I was
yeah,
like,
I would write them a check for $1 right now, which is what, this is
Got it.
junk, and there has to be
I just wasn't sure. It
the
looks,
right thing for us to do, but it's completely unclear from reading this thing. I mean, we're
That's
suing
my
Endo
thought.
International, which is what is it, an Irish or Scottish company, Chapter 11, for $1. I mean, excuse me.
I just think you just
Yeah.
stay out of it. And
Yeah,
It's,
but VLCT, I'm sure, is gonna know what towns are
okay,
gonna do.
perfect.
But we do have to reply by,
The 22nd.
yeah,
So I will call on
and
Thursday.
it has to be in their hands, not postmarked. So,
I
Oh,
said
okay.
something about filing that electronically, if I remember reading.
I can
yeah.
try it, yeah.
yeah,
Said-
but anyway, call
I will call.
VLCT, yeah.
All right, delinquent tax report, pretty simple.
Is Kim here still?
Maybe you're gonna ask me that.
Yeah, guess what I'm gonna ask you about?
Well, I'm
I'm gonna ask you about the,
What's
the,
64 cents again?
the buck, well,
Or the
it's
$46.
$1.94.
Oh,
I'm adding, I'm bundling.
Well, I'm just gonna leave, I have a couple of adjustments that I'm just gonna leave for the auditors to figure out, because I've already sent them our trial balance.
Yeah,
And I'm gonna tell them what I know needs change, and they'll give it to me as a.
yeah, yeah.
Because, I know that the interest and penalty was taken off that one thing. There's, that we had abated, but
Yeah.
the bulk is still there, and so.
Yeah.
You know, they'll make an adjustment, it'll come out of last year's taxes.
And let's see, the
64 cents.
with a 70 cents and buck,
Yeah.
buck 24.
Right, usually.
And then,
48.
How about the 48 cents?
yeah, oh, yeah, all those, I mean,
I'll speak to
Would it
my
be
counterpart.
easier if I just gave you the $3?
You know, usually
know.
I
Yeah.
throw, I just pull money out of my pocket and I pay those things down, but I posted the 64 cents on the wrong year.
Oh,
Okay,
goodness.
so I already took care of it.
Okay.
So,
Well, then how I give you $2 to make it go away?
possibly, yeah.
Yeah,
I'll let
well.
you know tomorrow.
Hold on, I'll go clean out the cup holder in my car. for you.
you don't wanna overpay, because that will be showing
Yeah,
credit.
I will.
It's okay, I think we got some extra.
Are there, with the second to last and the other, I guess these would represent pretty big amounts. Is there an issue there? Do we,
I don't think it's for us to decide.
no,
Yes,
I'm just,
I think,
okay, well, I'm just
Yeah.
saying,
I'm
This
not
is just an FYI for
yeah,
us.
yes.
I'm not in
Yeah,
communication with
I
those
move that we
Review.
review the delinquent tax report.
All in favor? Aye. All right, we got payroll.
I didn't hire anybody extra while you're gone, it's unusual, but it was a chunk more because it's 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna move approval of payroll check warrant report number 3 in the amount of $12,302.40.
Second that.
Discussion. All those in favor? Aye.
oh, I'm sorry,
Then there's also one for a flood, it's 3B. I think it's tacked onto the end of AP, I probably should have it closer to that, but
so the AP one is, 20.
What?
go to, so there's another payroll one, I'm sorry.
3B floods.
Yeah,
Oh,
we're catching up on that one.
Well, how about 3A?
hold on.
Do you want 3B first?
Oh, you want 3B first?
Payroll related,
Okay.
sorry.
You get this guy's information, just wanna make
This
sure.
is Shyster, actually.
Yeah, I know, that's what I hear.
We got his number, trust me.
Got it.
He's been in our
Just
system.
wanna make sure he gets his W two.
Right.
I'll make a motion for check warrant report 3B as in boy in the amount of $1,855.08.
That was the net.
Right, wait, yes, you're right, hold on. Let me go back to the.
Oh, it's about 4 pages from there.
Just pull it from over here.
Okay, yeah, that's
Pull it
gonna be
from-
the total.
Okay.
And these are the deductions.
Yeah, but the number down here is 1855, isn't that what we usually do?
Well, and then on the AP comes the taxes that
Okay.
are pulled down, it's a separate.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a motion that we pay check warrant report 3B flood in the amount of $2,008.75.
Well, that's the gross, the net is the 1,800.
I know, I said that.
That's what she
And then-
said first.
Yeah, and
Oh,
I
okay.
said that's.
Oh, I didn't know, I thought you
Oh.
were disagreeing with
No,
me,
no,
so
no,
I was
no.
like,
So did
well,
I,
it's
yeah.
usually right here.
I'm so
So,
sorry.
okay. Okay, we go
I
back to
second
the
it.
boy first one.
1855, I second it.
Okay.
1855-08, seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, whatever.
Okay, we're good, okay.
And I'm glad our accountant's not sitting in on this one.
You know what it is? She usually highlights it, so I don't have to think about which number. See, it's highlighted on Debbie's copy, that's what it is.
Where's my brain?
Do we need approval of 3C?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna move, since I signed it, that we approve accounts payable check warrant report 3C in the amount of $601.
That was
Counted.
for postage. He already.
3C.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Around here. Do we have to sign that?
Waiting for one for 3C.
Or
I got it right here.
Okay,
She made a motion. Nope, somebody
I
else.
second, didn't you
You
make?
made the
We made the
motion,
motion.
you seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
You have the original, so I'll cross that off, even though Jim signed this now.
We're a mess tonight. What is up?
It's been a long time since we had a meeting.
whoops.
Thank goodness no
Yeah,
one
we've
else
gotten
asked
out of
for money
practice.
today.
Vendors.
Okay,
report.
vendors
I was
report.
gonna say, we
There you
still
go,
have to
Denny.
do
Okay.
vendors,
Now we're on top of this.
Yeah,
So I'll make a motion that we pay accounts payable report 3 in the amount of $45,468.97.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye. That should do it.
I've got just a, can't talk and sign at the same time. We should get, Tim's
Tim's name off the
office sign.
Yeah, I saw that today. It's
Okay.
hard to, I
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
It's okay. Sometimes one of us isn't here and
I don't know, I just have a hard time putting
I
it
know.
in.
no, I'm saying it's not the first time that 3 out of 5 of us have signed something, so.
The old and new business, one thing I was gonna ask about is, down in the basement, we got 10 or 12 of them blue buckets left over from the flood. And do we wanna ask neighborhood connections if they want them, or what do we wanna do with them? Because if we just let them sit there, they'll just sit there, and
Man,
sit there, and
yeah.
sit there. And then deteriorate.
Would you call Neighborhood Connections and just
See if they
see,
want them.
see if they want them?
If there's a white one down there, let me know.
Yes, there is.
Okay.
Yeah, there's one.
Just, I need that rubber scraper. A fantastic little tool.
Other than that, we go to executive session. It's a
There was one question I had just before we do that.
Researching, can I just point out, you have the auditors arriving on the 20th, they'll be here usually the 20th and 21st of next week. And they usually chat with at least 1 or 2 select board members. And
Yeah, I've got that on my calendar.
Okay, so I didn't know if anybody else would want to be available. And we can keep it.
Where do we stand with this electrical?
I sent them an email today to, say definitely put the basement on the schedule and.
She asked me about it, and I said we previously agreed to get things fixed down there and
Great. I just wanted to make sure that we're
move forward.
moving forward, that's all.
Can't tell you what meeting it was, but we did agree to.
I have a copy of this for you, Lisa, for your, thank you. C3B.
All set. You sent it electronically earlier, and so I just made a copy of it, and matter of fact, I sent it to my you guys, so it's off my list. The road is complete. Yay.
Woo!
I'm so excited.
Doesn't the FEMA guy want to know where the paper was printed?
He asked me that next Thursday. I am driving to your
Jinx.
house
And I will come
and beat you up.
and I will beat him up.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, don't beat me up.
Honestly, it's so hard to be upset with him because he is such a nice person. He is
He's
trying
not
to
a nice
help.
person.
I know, but he's a nice
He's
person
saying
in
he's
person.
trying to help you,
And
and
then,
then he
and
springs all
playing
this
good cop,
shit
bad
on you.
cop.
so here was
Yeah.
the latest. I told Jim on the way in. So when debris is burned on site, what doesn't matter where. when the
Recording stopped.
trees, brush up on Felton.